That isn't Wily's castle.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman for the Game Gear. This game has no subtitle or other title, that's all it's known by. In the last part we started off the game and now we're in Wily's castle, sort of. Because it's time for Waveman. Like with the main 4 stages, Mega Man Game Gear opts to not have original stages even in its Wily stages. They're just more Robot Master stages. And because of that, their difficulty curve is a little bit weird in that there is no difficulty curve. Hell, the last normal stage in the game that's not like the final stage, the stage after this one, basically, is the stage I take on first in its respective game, which is just kind of weird. Either way, Waveman himself, according to Mega Man and Base, he can put out a water pillar with his wider wave and is equipped with a powerful harpoon. However, he is weak in close combat. Good point, he's a sentimentalist. Bad point, he loves solitude. He likes diving, but he dislikes sludge. His stage has 2 notable mechanics, and one is this weird bubbles screen. The big bubbles act as platforms that can carry you between stages, but you need to be careful because whenever you're on a bubble, you're below spikes. So you need to make sure that you're not staying on a bubble too long, because otherwise you'll end up dead. I also recommend moving the camera here by holding the A button, because otherwise you're going to have trouble here, because what you need to do with the big bubbles is ride them from one screen to the next, but then jump on the tiny bubbles to reach the next big bubble. The tiny bubbles, though, only stay as platforms for about a second after you land on them, so you need to make sure your jumps count and that you can see where your next platform is going to appear. I always felt that even in the original Mega Man 5, though, this mechanic was underutilized, because it's interesting, but this is the only screen they do something with. Mega Man 9 in Splash Woman stage will revisit the mechanic a bit more, and I feel it's more interestingly done there. Mind you, I also just feel that Mega Man 9's stage design is just more interesting than Mega Man 5's. And the other mechanic is this marine bike, where we're on an auto-scroller, technically, with enemies coming from ahead and behind us. With that said, the only enemy that ever comes from behind you is the Sniper Joes on their own marine bike, so just stay at around the 3/4 point of the screen and then jump over them to get them to shoot them in the back and make it pretty easy. I feel like you can charge your shot in Mega Man 5 itself, but not here, but I also might be confusing it with the wave bikes in Mega Man X's 4 and 5. And we also have a mini-boss here. This is October OA, I think is the name of this thing. And to damage this thing, you need to shoot it in the gem on the forehead. With that said, the hitbox for it isn't exactly where the gem is. Sometimes I feel like, depending on which way it's moving, it's a little bit ahead and behind of where it's supposed to be. My best advice is to aim for the purple panel beneath the gem and just hope you hit it from there. This is honestly one of the harder bosses in the game, though, just because of how iffy its hitbox is. Mind you, it's like it's also the only sub-boss that's on screen for longer than 3 seconds. The fact that the Wily stages themselves, though, are more reused stages is one of my bigger problems with this game. Because as I mentioned last part, even the end games of the Mega Man World games, as well as their level designs, were completely unique. Not so here. There is nothing unique to this game whatsoever, and it really just makes it feel worthless. With that said, we're coming up on Waveman, who partially due to his sprite size, partially due to the general increase in aggression the boss has got in this game, is honestly the hardest boss in the game, period. Doesn't help that he doesn't have a weakness. You can only damage him a substantial amount, at least, with the Mega Buster. He's going to be jumping, but occasionally hammering the floor to cause a water spout from beneath you, but he can also shoot his water wave, which comes from him to you, as well. He also just has his standard harpoon attack. It's a simple pattern, but I have a hard time contemplating it for some reason, partially just due to the fact there's no real time to react in this game, I feel, due to the screen crunch. As well, I just can't be bothered to care because of this game's qualities otherwise. Waveman's also probably the Robot Master. It's the most clear that they added some detail hit to his sprite just because of the extra glowy bits he has on his weird little cross-body dressing, I guess. I don't know what the hell they call it. The little rings around his body. And for beating him, we get wave something. Wave weapon. It's in this game. I don't give a shit. You shoot a wave forward that progresses across the bottom of the screen. It's not even useful in the next boss fight, which is weak against it. Toadman. The easiest boss in Mega Man 4 is the second to last boss of this game. Difficulty scaling doesn't exist in this game. With that said, this is honestly one of the harder stages if you're not used to the mechanic, because the main mechanic to Toadman's stage, like in the original game, is wind. Whenever you jump in sections where you can see the rain, you will get pushed backwards the slightest bit, and that makes reaching some of the platforms a little bit annoying. This is the only stage I would outright recommend using Rush Coil in. In fact, I think there's certain jumps like this one I even use Rush Coil in actual Mega Man 4, so be careful. With that said, Toadman, according to Mega Man and Base, he is an agricultural work robot. He can make a strong acid rain with his special weapon, Rain Flush. Good point, he's good at science. Bad point, he's tone deaf. He likes long jumps and he dislikes Snake Man because snakes and toads, well, snakes eat toads. Just straight up. This is the stage where the boost to the Mega Buster's charge shot is the most apparent, though. Because as you saw there, that snake mini-boss is on screen for about a minute, I believe, in the original stage, because of how long it takes, the fact its eyes are invincible when they're closed. In this game, you just charge up a single charge shot, even when its eyes are closed, and it will die in one shot. This game irks me. The last mechanic for this stage, it's only on screen for this particular screen, I believe, even, is this waterfall. And the water is constantly pushing you along whenever you're on one of the horizontal sections. But whenever you're beneath a waterfall, you're held in place. As well, it either hinders your jump or completely disables your jump. I can't remember which of those two it is, because I just don't care to. Oh no, it's here too, so it's in more than just that screen. And I guess they're supposed to want to make, they're trying to make this particular mini-boss difficult, but no. This is one of the harder screens in the game, just based off the screen crunch, though, because you can't exactly see these fishes coming super easily. I always felt like this is a stage they should have brought Rush Marine back for from 3. Even in the original 4. I'm honestly surprised Rush Marine, outside of like some of the handheld games on like Game Boy, never made a comeback. Either way, it's time for Toadman himself, who's weak to the wave weapon, but not by much. Toadman will jump around the screen and do a little dance, in which case the entire screen will be flashed with his acid rain attack that you just cannot avoid. In the original game, in 4, it was super easy to get him into a lock, but partially because of how fast he jumps, because of how slow the wave weapon is, and other factors that are just kind of annoying. This is a much harder Toadman than the original one. To the point where I actively die against him almost every playthrough, which never happens in the original game because he's Toadman. I think the biggest reason for this is that he won't always jump immediately after you shoot him. Sometimes he'll say, "No, I'm gonna finish my attack animation anyway, screw you." And for beating him, we get that Rain Flush ability, which is another screen nuke, but we never need to use it because the enemies are better defeated by a charge shot anyway. Helping that is the fact, you might notice we only have 6 minutes left in the game. That's going to be the final stage. Suddenly we're at Wily Wily Castle 4, by the way, I believe this is. There's no boss rush in this stage. We are here for just the final boss. This final stage, though, might look a little familiar. Not only does this game pull from Mega Man's 4 and 5, for its final stage, it decides to pull out Quick Man's stage from Mega Man 2. And I don't get why. And there's a weird inconsistency with the force beams in this stage, too, where sometimes they're instant kills, sometimes they're not. And I can't tell what it is. Maybe it's that they'll kill you instantly if you're below a certain health threshold. Maybe it's if you're in it for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's getting hit by them a certain amount of times. Maybe it's getting hit by the tip versus the body. I'm not sure. This section confuses me. Additionally, you can't even use Brightman's weapon to stop them like you could use Flashman's weapon in Mega Man 2. So, yeah, it's weird. I will say I do like this version of Quickman's theme, though. This game's soundtrack is weird. The Game Gear sound font just doesn't blend with most of the Mega Man music, but there's like 1 or 2 songs in here I think are okay. Not as good as their original version, but still okay. Also, I'd like to note, we're going to be teleporting here. We don't even get warped to an original portion here. This level design, I believe, is warped out of a part of Mega Man 5. And there's one last enemy, and you'd think there'd be a boss rush here, but no, we just get sent right to Wily, who's looking like he's been through a bee sting. He is going to teleport to a random point in the screen, drop some energy balls that will follow the left and right, follow the floor to the left and right, and then climb the walls. And then send 4 energy balls circling around where he is, and then they'll converge back to where he was. This is all he does. He has no weakness. Just use your charge shot. I will say, due to his damage values and the randomness of his teleportation, this can be kind of an annoying fight just because there's a lot of times where you might not be able to reach him, period. But even if you're playing on hard mode, by this point you've probably gotten enough extra lives from random drops of the level design, or even have enough energy tanks, that it just becomes a war of attrition. With that said, I should note, if you game over in this stage, there are no passwords for Waveman stage, Toadman stage, or this stage, so you'll be using essentially whatever the password you used for the 4th Robot Master was, meaning you'll have to do the entire Wily Castle over again. Now that's a lot of time, because at most, without editing out deaths and coming back to points where I died, that maybe made this part 16 to 17 minutes long rather than 14 and a half. But it's annoying enough, I suppose. I just cannot be asked to give enough of a shit about this game. It's not even that this game's actively bad, like I said last time. It just does nothing new or interesting with itself. It is the most literal port of levels I think I've ever seen, with the screen crunch and all, of any game ever, because even other ports of games to like Game Boy, Game Gear, or Game Boy Advance still tried to add to the game or do something new, like new music. This game does nothing new. Also, Wily just outright explodes, which is weird, and we get the power grab animation for some reason. Mission perfect! Why did Cossack's castle explode when we were in Wily's castle? Where was Cossack the entire game? Why does this game exist? That is the best way I can describe this game. It's not actively bad. It works. I actually like the quality of life function where you can move the camera quite a bit. I think a lot of other games on small screened handhelds like the Game Boy, Game Gear, even GBA could have used that a lot. But beyond that, it does nothing interesting with itself. It is a Mega Man game that exists, and that's all I can say about it. I think a Mega Man game on Game Gear could have worked if they did something original with it, like basically any of the Sonic games on the system, which even if they reused zone names, still made original level designs, or even like the Mega Man World games on Game Boy, which had original level designs. But there's nothing here of worth, honestly, in my eyes. And it's a shame that I have to say that about a Mega Man game. With that said, if you ever want to play it, it was only ever on the Game Gear. I don't even think this ever got any virtual console releases on the 3DS or otherwise. So if you're someone who likes to stick to real hardware, you're probably going to need to shell out like over $400. Just emulate it, take it from me. It's not worth the money unless you're that much of a completionist for your collection. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, have a great night, take care, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.